Hello, welcome back to the Women Who Make an Impact series here on the Business of Happiness podcast. Today, you're going to meet an incredible woman. Her name is Sarah Cottingham, and she has such a fascinating journey that I'm so excited for you to find out about. We're going to learn about her journey of facing shame from not having had a place to live to ultimately becoming CEO of this incredible company that she has founded, and how it has led her, this journey has led her to her dedication to making impact. She's going to be talking about the responsibility of refueling as the leader of your company. And this is really exciting, cold plunging. How cold plunging and letting go has been one of the most important components for her in terms of being able to make greater impact. I cannot wait for you to meet her. She is phenomenal. Join me now and welcome to this conversation with my good friend, Sarah. Hello, and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be such a great day. I am so excited to introduce you to a really great friend of mine. Her name is Sarah Cottingham, and she is the owner of Incito Enterprises. And she has a fascinating journey that has definitely led her in this trajectory of greater impact. She started in dental assisting. She's gone through hygiene, office management, and then stepped into business ownership, laying this really beautiful foundation for her background and expertise in all components of dentistry. And today she provides incredible coaching and fractional leadership, empowering professionals and businesses with strategic growth insights. She's an author, a speaker, an incredible human being who she and I have had some great conversations about our spiritual side and deeper personal development. And one of the foundations of what she really speaks to is pouring from a full cup, really paying attention to serving yourself in order to serve the people around you. So please join me in welcoming the one and only Sarah Cottingham. Hello, Sarah.
Well, hello. I'm so excited to be here. This
I'm so excited. I know, guys, we're literally recording this. I know this is being produced later in the year, but we're recording this on January 1st, the very first day of 2024. I'm so glad you joined me in this, Sarah.
Yeah. I seriously thought, like, would she really be working on New Year's Day? And I'm like, it'll be a perfect day.
This
So
isn't work. This isn't work. This is just fun and connection.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. And, I get so excited because, especially with the Women Who Make an Impact series, this is what we're talking about in 2024 is looking at how we can make greater impact and support and empower the women in our world. And I'd love to know from you, what is your definition of impact?
Allowing people to just really express themselves from a fulfilled place and contribute with their superpowers so that whatever they're doing, whether it's, just living life or being at work or being with family, that they're doing it from a place that brings them joy versus a have to, helping people get to the place where they can authentically sit in I get to. And, I've lived a lot of my life and I have to. And recently it is, I'm very present to that I get to. And I found that when I generate from that place, people get more out of it, they do more with it, and they enjoy it more. So, yeah.
That's really cool. I'd love to explore that a little bit more because what it also speaks to is being in alignment with what matters to you.
Definitely. Yeah. There's been a really significant part of my life where I did things in order to be good at, in order to please others, in order to, and the list just is, too long to really go through. And I found that that was an exhausting place to generate from.
Yeah.
And so much so that it took me to a really, really dark place. And when I finally got on the other side of that, I really realized that you have to really fill yourself up first before you can genuinely contribute to others and have it last, have them accept it, have them want to generate from it. And you can contribute to others in a completely different way that way.
So true. And it's so interesting because I guess if you think about it, no matter what we're doing, we're impacting people every single day, whether it's someone in the Starbucks drive through, we're impacting people in all of our conversations, in all of our communication, in any interaction. But it really colors it when we look at the value of that impact as it means to you and whether or not it's fueling you.
Yeah, for a large portion of my career, I did things in order to stay employed,
Yeah.
generate for the dentist that had hired me, and I got results. I mean, I got really, really good results. The dentists loved me. I wasn't necessarily the most favorite person to show up in the dental practice, whether I was in a management position or a consulting position. It was like, oh, here comes the consultant. And I found that when I can shift that and I generate from that other place of having them win first versus the business win, they generate more. They're happy. They're fulfilled doing it. They go and do other things with it, and it's just a much different place. The results are exponentially more given this way of being. I got great results before, but now they're exponentially better
Mm.
because the people take on the game. They aren't forced into the game.
So that's exactly what we're talking about in the series is the greater impact, right? Because we can show up and do the thing and consistency and dedication shows great results, like you said, but there's that extra edge that happens with that secret sauce. So I'd love you to go into a little bit more for you. What have you found that is? What is it that makes a difference between just the showing up, doing the thing, having the expertise, but then what really elevates it to the next level of impact?
When you can help people find their thing and help people find their gift so that they can generate from a place of that they're enjoying the process rather
Yep.
than, if they made a bad hire for a position, it doesn't mean that the person's bad. It means that they may be sitting on the wrong seat on the bus because their superpower isn't for that seat on the bus. So helping people find what their superpower is and how do they want to express it, and is there a seat on the bus, and rather than just taking whatever person that is on the team and hammering them into the spot. It's like, maybe the spot needs to change. If they're supposed to be on this bus, we got to find where they're going to be authentically happy and
Mhm.
generate from. And sometimes people are not meant to be on the bus. I mean, but if we can find them a place that they're truly happy, then what they generate is completely different than when they're being hammered into submission to do something inside of a task. And that's really what I'm about, and helping people find what it is that drives them.
Oh, I love that you bring up the power of happiness because that is the precursor to greater success. And that when we can tap into what matters and fuels us, we can put our best foot forward. And I love what you're doing in terms of consulting, supporting teams to find that for themselves, guiding people on the team to help them uncover that zone of genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. So, how have you discovered yours?
That's been a journey from being raised in a business family, a
Mm.
dental family. My family was in dentistry very, very early on, and then went into business ownership. And they owned a family run campground along the Colorado River. And, I was working from the time that I was very, very young. And so I grew up with a lot of business skills, a lot of tenacity to just stay busy. I wasn't really growing up with the make sure that you're taking care of yourself in order to do great work. And over the last 2 years, I've really outlined and uncovered for myself that you can't leave yourself out of it. And from going to that really dark place, I was able to find my way back just because of people that I had surrounded myself with and people that probably didn't know that they were pouring into a completely drained cup at the time that it happened. And I found my way into taking care of myself physically, mentally, completely differently than I ever had before, doing things that I had never thought that I would do, climbing to the top of mountains that I had attempted before, like 6 years before, couldn't get to the top, and started almost a daily practice of cold plunge. And it has altered how I function in the world.
Oh, that's so cool. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Okay, tell us more about cold plunging. So, by the way, just did a polar plunge with my kids this morning in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Maine here this morning on New Year's Day. So, tell me why that's so good for me. It was awesome. I felt totally alive afterwards, but explore for us a little bit more about how that's made a big difference in your life.
Yeah. Uh, I found my way to a cold plunge from a gal that I used to train with. Her life partner. He owns at that time, it was a new business that was built around cold plunging, red light therapy, infrared sauna, compression. And I had, heard about breath work. I had heard about cold plunging and I had seen all of the stuff. And somebody that I thought very highly of, it's like, you should really go try it. And one day I'm like, all right, I'll go see what it's all about. And I was not engaged. I was going in very resistantly. And I went. Didn't even tell the person that I was going, that had recommended it, because heaven forbid they could be right. And I happened to be guided by an individual that at the time I did not know her background. I had a feeling after I got done that she was an intuitive healer. Later on, found out that she was a Reiki master. And I went to a place almost immediately of an emotional release in the water that
Mm.
just took something from me and put in its place a completely different feeling and level of energy. And from that day, I think that I successfully plunged every day for 45 days in a row, and found that the chemical release, the feel good chemicals, and just my overall feeling in general was completely elevated. And after that 45 days, I left. I went to California for a few days and was away from that regular routine of plunging, and found that it was like, whoa, it was almost, it was like a withdrawal from, all of this feel good energy and chemical and hormonal impact. And like, I had to get back and do it again. And from doing that and getting into it every day, I found that without changing anything else, not my eating routine, not my physical routine, that I was just, my body composition was changing.
Hmm.
I was losing weight that I had struggled with losing before. The ability to sleep was enhanced. It was a complete game changer. And out of that, I started moving my body differently. Then I decided, like, I should probably take on being a bit more integrous with my food plan, with my drinking of water. So it just gave me a complete different way of viewing things and how I was starting my day, how I was meditating, and where I was generating from. And it was so much so I bought a plunge. I mean, I have one on my patio. I still go to the center and plunge routinely. I was actually there this morning because there is a difference, me doing it on my back patio and me going somewhere. But I can't give it enough credit for all of the things that I've seen happen in the last, I've been plunging now for 18 months, and it's been a game changer.
So what's actually happening? So you had mentioned that there was this emotional release. So kind of a letting go of something, which is so apropos as we step into the new year, allowing ourselves to release certain things and leave things behind in 2023. So what for you did you have to let go of?
Oh gosh. That list is long. You know, I had just come off of I broke off an engagement. That was, just after the whole COVID thing. My business had slowed down during my engagement. My fiance had requested that I just really slow my business down. And then when I found out that that relationship needed to be complete because he wasn't complete with his other relationship, it was a really dark place with how did I find myself here?
Mm.
Right? I am an intelligent woman. And, how did I find myself I had sold my house and I essentially didn't have a place to live when I broke that off. And thank goodness I was able to call that off and I was able to get my house back. And so there were so many things that I had to just let go. What I made it mean of shame, I made it mean that I was humiliated. How could I, responsible businesswoman, intelligent person find themselves in this place? And so many people were doing so many great things coming out of all of that shenanigans of COVID that I found myself just sitting in this dark room going like, why am I here? And it was a really, really tough spot. And I just let all of it go. And it was, that was the journey I was supposed to be on. And I may not know what the lesson was in the moment, but it was time to just let it go. Let go that need to be perfect and that I was already perfect. And so bringing in the mantra of, you know, I am imperfectly perfect and I am exactly what I'm supposed to be. And that I'm a generator, I'm a healer, I am loved, I'm loving, instead of all of those things that female entrepreneurial driving women, we find ourselves like scratching to succeed and grabbing hold of and being told that we're aggressive and that we're pushy and it's like I'm perfect and I generate because that's how I generate and I just made me be okay. And so I let the not being okay and the judgment and the shame and anything else that went along with it, I just released it to the water.
Mm.
And I would come out of the water just completely light and out of the universe and God put me there on the day that I was there to be guided by that person, that individual, because that's who needed to guide me. Had I gone and survived a cold plunge, like get in the water and just shiver my way through it and just be there to survive the water and not actually accept the water for the gift that it really is, I wouldn't have gotten what I got out of it and continue to get out of it. There is a complete difference to going and experiencing the water from a healing place and a mental place versus I'm going to go and survive this cold, 32 degrees, whatever. And so anyone that talks to me about cold plunging, I always guide them to go find someone that actually knows what they're doing and that they are intuitively guided. They have been trained on how to breathe through, meditate, and not just time you in the water. It's just completely different. And if people approach me and go, like, oh, yeah, I did that. And it was like, I was able to do da, 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 and it's not for me. And I'm like, so how did you experience the water? And it always comes back to that they survived it.
What a beautiful metaphor, by the way, for our businesses and for our lives. I mean, if we're just going through this entrepreneurial journey or our lives from a place of survival, I survived it. I showed up, I put one foot in front of the other. I just did the thing. We're missing the beauty and the gift inside. We're missing the experiencing of it, which you're sharing so beautifully from the place of cold plunging. And what an extreme way, because in those moments you have all those same feelings of, can I do this? Am I good enough? Can I survive this? Is this something that's possible for me? Is this, and all those same questions come up for us when we're making impact in our specific arenas. So I love that. I love that idea about actually experiencing it and allowing for the discomfort in the moment and giving it an opportunity to heal.
Yeah. I find that same journey when I meditate. I find that same journey when I hike. And with the cold plunge in particular, that fight or flight and that chemical response that you learn how to control. And that, so when that anxiousness pops up, or, you're dealing with a difficult situation and you've got that fight going on, and you have the ability, you like, I know what this is. I know how to deal with this. I know how to
Mm,
control this. And you just can bring in the stillness, you can bring in the calmness, and you just go like, all right, now what's next? And so I've found that same control that I've been able to experience with, that's a mental thing. You get to control this, you create the space. This is all you, it's what you're making it mean, and choose. What are you going to make it mean? And so from that place, I mean, I've done things in like this summer, the hikes that I did, I never would have been able to do those before because I was my own worst enemy. I told myself before I started I'd never finish. And so of course I'm going to be right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Our mind does exactly what it expects us to, what we ask it to, what we tell it to.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. And it's so fascinating. I think we all have that experience of being in a really cold, even if my listeners, even if you've never tried a cold plunge before, of being in a really uncomfortable place physically where your body's screaming, something terrible is about to happen. And intellectually, we know I'm not going to die. This is just cold. This is just temporary. And it's that beautiful empowerment that you're speaking of gaining access on overcoming that fear, overcoming that fight or flight immediate instinct. And what a superpower, Sarah, when you're in that situation in business. And I love this with reference to making greater impact, because when we step into a world of making greater impact, there's going to be greater pushback.
Oh, always. Yeah. Especially when you're in bigger arenas, the pushback gets to be different and it's generally more. And so, if you're going to stand in your greatness, you better be able to talk to yourself enough in a positive way that you can stand there and that you can show up in your greatness and not worry about what's out there, because the bigger impact you're making, the more arrows you're going to take. And, you have to be willing to just go like, oh, that's an arrow, and not make it mean anything. There was somebody very, very early on that, having a conversation with her in my career. And she said, like the path that you're on, you're going to take a lot of arrows. And I said, oh, well, and that young me was like, oh, okay. And she was like, as long as you got people behind you willing to pull them out for you and pat you on the back, you're good. And like, I have remembered that to this day. And
Hmm.
it means even more, especially, when you're out talking about things like cold plunging and meditating and showing up in your superpower, and you're in a corporate world in a, big setting. Like you start speaking about stuff like this, it's like people look at you like you have horns.
Hmm.
And, I no longer shrink in the presence of that. It's like, huh, it's what I do.
So
So,
cool.
yeah.
So cool. I love that you referred to them as arrows too, because it reminds me of that story about the Buddha sitting under the tree and him asking Kali to bring all the animosity and the fear and the fight towards him. And every arrow he just turned into a flower. And that's exactly what you're learning to do, or what you are mastering in cold plunging, is all those things that are perceived as arrows. We get to just, like you said so beautifully with your terminology of I have to versus I get to. We get to just turn that arrow into a learning opportunity. Next step in our growth. What we see it differently.
Yeah.
from an arrow to a flower. I love that. I love that you use that. Oh, so cool. So cool. So in that incredible journey, it sounds like you were taking a journey, a personal journey, especially after your failed relationship. And I don't even like to say that. That was just a relationship. Let's not even judge it as failed or succeed because it sounds like it brought you great insight. So an enormous success. But after your relationship and then switching gears professionally, letting go of so much, was there a part of your identity that needed to change? What part of you needed to die off in order for you to step into this new identity of a woman who makes greater impact?
The bull in a china shop. And very early in my career, I would be described that way. Like Sarah's great, but she's a bull in a china shop. And she'll take names and she'll kick, you know, and I never I just always kind of looked at that as like, when you're a successful woman, that's just wear it like a badge of honor and I found that I don't have to be that.
Mm,
And I can show up in my superpower and I can make a difference and I can have an impact and I leave people standing and I leave them complete
mm,
instead of that, I'm hammering people into submission in order to live off of a checklist or a system or an SOP. It's like, no, it's something that they want to take on and that they get to show up being great because it's not my system, it's theirs. They create it, they run it, they operate it, and I love seeing people own that
mm.
instead of that they have to give credit away to a consultant. It's like, mm-mm. And so I had to really just get rid of that part
Mm.
and keep she's badass and she's strong, and I own that. I own my significance. I own my superpower, but I'm not breaking people.
So
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I have a feeling so many women who are incredibly capable are going to relate to that, having been very successful and accomplished by being so driven. And it served you really well for a really long time. But then recognizing the nuance of realigning with yourself and not having to be the bull. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally.
cool.
Yeah.
So cool, Sarah. So I have an interesting question for you. I'm asking of all the incredible women. Thinking back to 6, 7, 8-year old Sarah, what did she want to be when she grew up?
She wanted to be a really successful nurse that healed a lot of people that were really, really sick.
Hmm.
Mhm.
What was she like? 7, 8-year old Sarah.
She was bossy. She was she would communicate very loudly. She would demand attention. She would contribute. She would save animals. She would make sure everybody was taken care of and happy, and she was always just getting stuff done and learning new stuff.
What parts of her do you see represented in you now?
All of it.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm still the description of bossy really translates to uh precisely productive. And instead of that, it's like, you know, she's being bossy. It's like, no, we're being productive and we communicate about it. And the communication is dialed in and it's not coming across as bossy. It's now different. It's engaging and it's inclusive instead of that it looked like I was demanding attention. And, I am a healer. I just chose a different profession. And I went into nursing and then I left it, because it wasn't for me. So all of those parts that make me up today were in that 6 and 7-year old.
Is there any part of her that got left behind that needs to be brought back?
The uninhibited, completely self-expressed, joyful person that skipped down the road, that's the one that
Mhm.
I've been finding. Yeah.
Yeah, the play and the levity.
Yeah.
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 Superpowers in and of themselves, and it's so interesting. I asked you to send me a picture of your younger self, and I love the picture you sent me, which is of you on top of a mountain. It looks like a summit that of a
Did.
mountain, which is so empowering. But you mentioned that you couldn't find any pictures of yourself.
I couldn't. Definitely not digitally, and I didn't have anything, readily available. Everything from my childhood is, like, packed away in a box, and I found that very interesting, and at the time, I was like, I don't need to judge that my childhood is in a box. And so I just chose to send the photo that resonated with me at the time, and that one, that completely resonates with me and the shift that I've made. And so I sent it.
Well, I love it because the expression on your face is also one of complete joy and fun. It
Yeah,
looks like you're having a lot of fun, which is the essence of that little girl that you were just talking about, that
yeah,
levity, that play, and it seems to me like you found that in a different place, on top of a mountain, hiking.
I did. That was a mountain that I had attempted that mountain about 6, 7 years before. It was the highest mountain here in Arizona. And I didn't even make it halfway when I tried it the first time. And that week, that was July of this year, that week, I had done another mountain that I had attempted twice this year, trying to get to the top and didn't make it to the top. Of course, I was in waist deep snow the first two times that I did it. So I kind of blame the snow. But in that same week, I had done the first mountain that I had tried two times before and found it so easy when I did it. And out of doing the cold plunging, like I'm naturally doing breath work. So I'm doing cold plunging and breath work.
Mhm.
And so that first mountain was so easy. I'm like, I think I can do the big one. And I had a very short window of time to be able to decide if I was going to do it, because if the monsoons are coming here in Arizona, like, you do not want to be on a mountain that's almost 14,000 feet in a monsoon. So I had a really short window, and very quick decision. I'm like, you know what? I got time. I'm going to do it on this Friday. And I had like 2 days, and I did an up and back. I left Phoenix, which we sit at almost sea level, and drove up to Flagstaff and hiked the mountain and drove back home in the same day, which, going from sea level to 7,000 feet where you start the hike at, to go to then almost 14, no, almost 13, sorry. Like, that for me was superhuman. And from there, I was like, all right, if I can do that. I went
Yeah.
and did another mountain 1 week later, which sits at 10,000 feet. So all in northern Arizona. And I did them in less than 7 days. So 35 miles in less than 7 days, and an elevation gain of those three done together over 30,000 feet.
Wow, Sarah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just, like, what's next?
Man, we're so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for.
Oh, 100%.
So much more.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thank you for sharing that story. I'm so glad that you told us
Yeah.
about that journey with hiking. I'd love for you to speak to, the women who are listening to this series are women who do want to make an impact that matters to them. It's a part of their value system, it's a part of their purpose. What advice would you give to someone listening who wants to make greater impact?
Decide what impact means to you
Mhm.
and define it for yourself, so that when you get there, you've done it. Because if we leave that undefined and so loosely described, there are so many times that we're actually making a huge impact for others, and we have absolutely no idea that we did.
Right.
Yeah. And ask,
Mm.
have a conversation so that You're opening up the doors for people to actually share with you when you've made an impact.
Mm.
Because there are a lot of times that I sell myself short, or I have sold myself short, that like, oh, that person, they're too busy. They don't have time to like grab a quick coffee or even a virtual chat. And then I find out later that, like, no, they actually wanted the time with me, but I was the one that
Mm.
was seemingly unavailable. And we miss so many opportunities to actually know that we made an impact. And so keeping in touch with people. And once you've defined what impact means for you, I promise you that you're already making a difference.
Nice.
Yeah.
So true. So true. Ah, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your wisdom and your journey with us here today, Sarah. I want to leave on that beautiful point because I think that is everything. The promise is there. You're already making an incredible impact. And
Yeah.
now the question is just, what does it mean to you?
Yeah.
And how does it fuel you? Yeah, so beautiful. So what can we look forward to from Sarah Cottingham in the upcoming year?
Wow. Well, in February, I've got a working weekend, an intense weekend, February 1st to the 4th. We're doing an event here in Scottsdale. So, me and my co host, Jonathan Bonanno, the weekend is called From Sacrificing Servant to Powerhouse. And it'll be life altering, life impacting. I've got that going on. I am doing some fractional work for a new company. And I just find that I'm going to be out speaking more, lifting people up more, and calling those people around me to just be fully self expressed and joyful.
So cool. So cool. So where can people find you for that incredible inspiration of self-expression and joy?
Well, if you follow me personally on Facebook, I generally am posting gratitudes week. It used to be daily, but now it's kind of like a few times a week. But you can find me on Facebook at Sarah Cottingham, or you can have my Instagram at Sarah Cottingham. And I can be reached at Sarah at incitoenterprises.com. That's INCITO enterprises.com.
Awesome. And we'll leave all those links in the show notes.
Yeah.
I know that beautiful retreat, you've told me some of the details and the backgrounds. And guys, this sounds incredible and life altering, I'm sure is an understatement. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the impact that you have on so many people. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to the work that you do. And thank you for constantly challenging yourself to overcome those limiting beliefs and those limiting fears that allow you to really stand out and make the greater impact. The world is better for it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So awesome. And thank you to all of you for joining us here today. I'm so excited that you're sharing in this journey on women who make an impact. Really, I honor you for being here and for listening to these incredible women who are making big strides in our incredible community. And I'm so grateful that you have this dedication and this fire in you to make an impact yourself. The world is waiting for you. And remember, when you feel good, that's when you can do good. Bye bye. Thank you for listening to the Business of Happiness podcast. If this episode brought you new perspective and value, I invite you to subscribe so that you catch all upcoming episodes and leave us a review. And if you know of a friend or colleague who could benefit from this perspective, share this episode with them and empower their day. For more information about the Business of Happiness and the Radical Happiness for Practitioners course, find me on www.thebizofhappiness.com. See you there.